Hello people! Welcome to another top 10. As before, I am using MyAnimeList to get the details from each anime, and I am going to be drawing some of the characters of the anime mentioned in my style, so be sure to check out later the real style of each of the anime. Of course, this is very subjective, so feel free to share in the comments what you think should be included in this top 10. Let's begin. Number 10. To start this list, we have the very unique Golden Kamuy 4th season. And I cannot stress enough that this one is definitely not an anime for beginners by any means. The anime continues the story of Asirpa and her friends trying to track down the remaining prisoners and being one step closer to finding the gold. I must say that each season the characters become crazier and crazier, and that the jokes can be disgusting or hurt the sensibility of many, so this is not for everyone. I loved every episode though, and many got me laughing a lot, so I gave it a well-deserved 8. In MAL it has an 8.11 at the moment of this recording, so I guess most people that got this far into the story really loved it. I think the next season will be the last one, so if you have the stomach, you still have time to catch up before the end of the story airs. Number 9. Next we have Fumetsu no Anata-e 2nd season. The first season was very emotional and got me to cry more than once, and this one does not fall behind. The adventure of the immortal Fushi continues, starting this season with him secluded in a remote island. He then learns that his enemies have been attacking more humans far away from him to lure him out. So he decides to resume the fighting, finding more allies on his journey, and of course a lot of death and suffering. The season has an 8.08 score on MAL, and I give it an 8. I think this one has a lot of philosophical topics to think about and also has a very entertaining story full of action and very interesting characters. Number 8. Number 8. Here I chose Overlord 4. I think the last season made us accept that, yeah, the main characters of this show are the bad guys. I think everyone should know that from the start, but the 3rd season made it clear that Ainz and his companions are not the good guys by any stretch of our imagination. But this season, well, no, they will not do anything to change that. They continue to expand their empire, gaining new allies, and annihilating some of their enemies. It has a good animation, the story moves forward, and the characters are very entertaining, so I gave it an 8, while it has a score of 8.08 in MAL. Perhaps many didn't give it a chance, thinking it was another isekai of a game, but I think it is different enough to deserve a chance. Maybe watch the first season and see how it goes. Number 7. Now let's talk about the fantasy and mystery anime Shadow House 2nd season. The story continues with Emilko and Kate trying to avoid to raise suspicion from the other members of the house, while researching everything that is happening there to be able to understand what is really going on in that house. A lot of incidents start happening now that endanger the lives of the dolls, and Kate becomes a detective trying to solve the mysteries, which also makes her move closer to her goal of becoming a star bearer. And in this season we get a lot of explanations about everything that happened in the past and what's going on now, so if you like the first season, you must watch this one. It has an 8.01 score on MAL, and I give it an 8 as well. Number 6. In number 6 I place the romantic comedy Kaguya-sama wa Kokurasetai Ultra Romantic. There is not much to say about this one. Shirogane and Kaguya are still fighting each other with the goal of making the other person to confess their love, but we get more screen time of other members of the student council, especially Yu Ishigami and Miko Ino. The show is still a lot of fun to watch, and every episode we find something to laugh about, but, more importantly, I think the story really moved forward in this season. I heard rumors that the story continues after this one, but if it doesn't, I think the story can end with everything we saw here. There are some loose ends that could perhaps be solved with a movie, although I don't think that is strictly necessary. I give it a score of 8, while it has an amazing 9.01 score on MAL. This one is not your regular rom-com, since it has a lot of emphasis on the comedy part, so I think everyone can really enjoy it. Number 5. In the middle of this ranking we have Tiger and Bunny 2. The show continues where the movie left the story, with Kotetsu back in the team with Barnaby and competing in teams of 2 against the other heroes. In this season, we learn more about the past and motivations of the heroes, and it also discusses some interesting topics worth thinking about. The story moves forward and reaches a conclusion by the end of the season, and this could perfectly be the end of the whole story. So the full anime would be comprised of a first season with 25 episodes, a recap movie with some new scenes, a movie that continues the story, and this season of 13 episodes that wraps it all up. I gave it an 8 and found it to be as entertaining as the first season, but it does not have a good score on MAL, with only 7.42. It is not a masterpiece, but it is fun to watch, with some nuggets of wisdom spread here and there. Number 4. Almost in the top 3 now, I placed Boku no Hero Academia 6th season. I think this show got better with each season, and we are now reaching the end of the story. I guess it will probably have 8 seasons in total, but the last 2 will have to go over one big final arc, so I don't know how it will be played by the producers. Perhaps they will do something like Shingeki no Kyojin, and we will have several parts of a final season. I don't know. The story now focuses on the heroes attacking the main buildings of the Paranormal Liberation Front. The battle will include almost every hero we have seen so far in a huge and awesome battle royale. This one also has some emotional moments and raises a lot of questions regarding justice and how far a hero should go to protect it. I think the show resolves the questions in a good way that perhaps others do not. For example, in the comic world you have some versions of Batman that refuses to kill villains, which results in more death and suffering of innocent people. This show doesn't do that, and the heroes usually do what needs to be done. I hope they keep it that way till the end of the story. I gave it an 8 and it has a score of 8.29 in MyAnimeList. Number 3. For the third place we have the amazing Kimetsu no Yaiba Yukaku Gen. This also has awesome heroes that do what needs to be done. The story continues in the Red District with a new pillar fighting shoulder to shoulder with Tanjiro, Zenitsu and Inosuke. I think the animation of this season is incredible and as good as an animation can be. Movie quality level here. Studio Ufotable really did something great with this show, and let's hope it continues at this level. Regarding the story, to be honest, it does not move forward a lot in this season, and it also had some things that were a bit too much and hard to accept. Like, it is all fantasy, but it has to be consistent with the rules in their own universe, and I think there is a particular scene here where I think it wasn't. I don't know, maybe you don't see it that way. I gave it an 8, and has the incredible score of 8.75 in MAL. People really like this one, and I agree. Number 2. Close to the top of this ranking, we have Made in Abyss Retsushitsu no Ogunko. The story continues after Riko is able to obtain a white whistle and descends into the 6th layer. There, they find a village inhabited by very strange beings, where they keep learning more about the Abyss. This show was very emotional in the first season and movies, and it continues to be so in this season. It also has a lot of weird and sometimes disgusting things, but if you already watched and liked the story so far, then there is nothing to worry about. I really like the art and the animation of this show, and also the topics covered and the character development it has. If you have the stomach to watch it, I think this one is one of the best. I do worry sometimes if the author will be able to give a convincing explanation of everything that happens here, but let's trust it will become a masterpiece. The manga is still ongoing and not too far away from where this season ended, so we might have to wait a few years before we get another season. I gave this one a 9 and has a score of 8.63 in MyAnimeList. Number 1. And on the number 1 spot I place Shingeki no Kyojin The Final Season Part 2. This is one of my favorites and I think it did achieve masterpiece level. After Eren decides to destroy the rest of humanity, his former comrades will try to stop him before it's too late. Sadly, the title says it is the final season, so you might think that the story ends by the end of this one, but it actually has 2 more special episodes after this, which actually conclude the story. I mean, technically this is the final season, since the other 2 episodes can be considered movies, but it still can be a bit confusing what MAPPA did to end this series. I gave this season a 10, perhaps considering the whole show to be honest, and it has an 8.76 score on MAL, while the 2 last episodes have a score of 8.9 on MyAnimeList. This is definitely a must-watch for anyone who loves anime. So that is all for this video. What are your top picks? How much do you hate my choices? I will read you in the comments. If you want me to keep doing these videos, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and feel free to support me on Patreon too. See you next time!